Hi, host Eric here tonight, and we're here with a variety of peoples, and we're talking about an exciting topic called sweetie pies. So, sweetie pies are individuals for whom you feel a certain affection or sweetness. I'm told that this emotion can range from feelings of warmth or goodwill towards the other. They could involve a sense of, I'm concerned about that person's well being even though they're not me. Any number of possible things. What do you think constitutes the feelings of quote unquote love or a deep bond with people? We sort of are all conditioned to accept the notion that one of the ways that we know we're living right and actualizing properly and achieving some sort of meaningful outcomes that we're supposed to be achieving is that we've developed and enjoy the deep bonds we have with other people. I wonder how much that assumption is maybe in need of challenge. I do feel intuitively like that's true, that ultimately I need the people in my life, but I wonder how much that's self-fulfilling. Like, in fact, maybe I can attain those things I need to attain through shorter-term relationships, that I don't necessarily have to have deep lasting bonds. What do you guys think about that notion, love in general, relationships in general, emotional interaction between people in general?
Do you think you can be healthy without loving anyone?
Well,
like some people would.
Healthy?
Yes.
Do you mean behaviorally? Like I could be healthy without engaging in loving behaviors at a certain degree of frequency?
What do you mean psychologically?
I think NTJ tops would be okay with like just having a few workers following them around all the time. They don't need really a close emotional connection to somebody. That's a joke. That's a joke. I'm not being serious.
Yeah, I do disagree. But
I think INTJs need it more than us, for sure. I think we need it least of all.
Need emotional connection least of all?
Deep lasting bonds, quote unquote. Loving somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the reason is because when you ask that question, can you be okay without loving anybody? My question is, do you mean engaging in loving behaviors? Namely, caring for somebody, hugging your child when she's crying, and stuff like that. When I was younger and Delilah was younger, I would have said, no, my very existence is conditional upon the well-being of this child. But as she's gotten older, I realized that's not really true. I see her becoming an independent person. As her dependency upon me diminishes, my active emotional attention diminishes. I think dependency is important. Like, I love my animals a lot. I experience a lot of emotion with my animals because they're entirely dependent on me. And yet I want them to be free and autonomous.
Good point you just made. I think the high standard you would set for yourself is having your own autonomy. Would you agree?
That's a tough question. Let me think about it a second. What were you going to say, Nandi? Was it Nandi or Grail that was going to say something?
Grail.
Grail, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just curious as to what do you mean by love, in the sense like romantic or parental, any kind of relationship, because
a deep bond that you afford the word love to, meaning something different than friendship. So it's probably going to be reserved for family members, either spouse or children or parents, immediate family members. Could be romantic love if it's a spouse, or a long-term relationship. Could be parental love. But the key notion of it is it's a deep bond with an individual rather than a temporary let's work together on this project for a few minutes, or let's make a GTM video together, or something like that. That there's a certain amount of expectation implicit on all parties in those relationships, that I can depend on Delilah to, to call her in case of an emergency where I need somebody's help right this second, and I need somebody who's going to prioritize my real and emergency need over whatever it is they're doing or anybody else because they're my family member. So,
yeah, I don't know if you could be healthy, completely devoid of any relationship as a human being, because we're fundamentally a social animal.
Well, I know that, but we're distinguishing between kinds of relationship. Can you be healthy with not having any family members, just having non-intimate relationships where you don't get to be able to count on that?
And I would say that there are some studies, I think, like with feral children, they're actually devoid of human connection and human relationships of any kind, and they don't develop properly. Sure, they're outside of the human realm,
but we know
in order
that
for you to actually, exactly, that's unhealthy.
But I know we know you have to have some human contact. What I'm asking specifically is, are there certain types, or is it possible that an individual could get all of their emotional needs met through bonding with individuals like I'm bonding with you guys right now, rather than having deep connections that last over years with intimate single others?
Yes, definitely.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I've
think
seen that.
having those deep connections with others is allowing you to have these connections with us as well.
Okay.
Exactly. You're basing, to some extent, you do have some deep relationship basis, in which is a foundation for you to have these short relationships without too many problems, because in the back of your mind somebody is always there for you. If you didn't, you'd be desperately seeking out these long-term relationships.
I think so. What?
I sort of agree with her, in the following sense, that when we grow up in and become accustomed to a life narrative that has some safety nets built in, right? That you've got some family that if you get into trouble, you can always go back there and they'll let you in, they'll let you sleep there and stuff like that. When you grow up in that world where you have a healthy, functioning family, and they provide a spiritual foundation upon which you engage in your risk taking, especially for ENTPs. For an ENTP, it's tempting to neglect what Grail, I think, just said, which is we wouldn't notice it unless we didn't have it. If we had it, we'd freak out. If we had an absence of deep connections, and there was a point in my life when mine had dwindled functionally to, 1. My parents are getting really old. I certainly have a deep connection with that in the sense that they're family members and stuff. My ex-wife had left. My best friend was alienated from me. I wasn't in the habit of maintaining a lot of some of the other more extended relationships I had, and I was down to more or less Delilah in terms of a spiritual go-to person. That was challenging, for sure, and it definitely had an impact on my psyche. But it made me, actually, if anything, it made me behave such that I feel more protected in the future. It made me realize, okay, I need to treat my relationships like commodities more. And I have since then. And I've maintained them. I made a purposeful effort to maintain things and to do shit for people on the grounds that I want to be able to have, I want to know when I need to call on somebody to be by my side, they're going to be there.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that a lot too in my life.
Yeah, I think as a result of getting older.
Yeah.
I didn't notice when I was younger, but as I grew up older, and I really began to see the importance of maintaining relationships, and especially deep relationships with people you truly know and care about. I didn't always think like this. I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally independent. I can just go out there and meet whoever I want, and it'd be all right. But that's not always the case. It's because I actually
I think
have.
there are some individuals who don't need that.
How old are you, Grail?
Oh, I'm 30.
Okay. Well, T-shirts, I would agree with you that ENTPs need it less than other people. And the reason we need it less is twofold. One, we're more distant from our feelings. And two, we're all about possibilities. So if shit goes down, shit's going downhill right now or whatever, we are spinning in our head different ways we can attack this problem. We'll probably end up attacking it from multiple angles at once, and some sort of confluence of those things or combination of those things will cause us to emerge from the problem okay, ultimately. It's easy for us to figure out shit on the fly. When we imagine ourselves in a difficult situation where we're running low on options, we can always think of plenty more options. But that's our type. And additionally, not only can we think of plenty more options, but we have trouble identifying what we'd feel in that moment or how it would be that we would get to that moment in the first place or stuff like that. So there's a certain amount of like difficulty we have in recognizing that other types are much less willing to fly into the middle of an uncharted storm like we are.
But I still feel like the deep. What is the difference? What can we establish as the difference between a deep connection and just a friendship with somebody, where you get a natural, like you naturally. Some people are social. I mean, not some people, but every human. That we are a social species, right? I found some of the best, most, I guess, happy moments of my life is when I had 2 or 3 just good friendships, and they were only on a friendship basis. They were NT friends, so there was not much emotional depth involved in our relationship. It was just mutual interest and intellectual conversation, and this went on for 2 years or so, and that was probably the happiest moments of my life. Just having that, and I didn't have any kind of, I guess, the only thing that I thought I would receive from a deep connection with another individual emotionally was the physical aspects, I guess, of in a sexual sense. But I didn't really. I already spiked that out in TI too. I figured out about it. Really
now, Trenton, I hope you're not using your penis yet, because you're not married. Anyway, regardless of that,
I'm going to hell.
You are going straight to hell. I mean, the thing is,
No.
we're less. I agree with you in the following level. This is why I think the issue of do we really need to prioritize these quote-unquote deep connections so much in our understanding of our experience of the world as sort of the goal, which is how it's often positioned. The answer to that, to me, is I agree with Trenton on this level, that we have no good, clear understanding of what constitutes a deep connection. I know I'm quote-unquote deeply connected to my daughter. She's a person I love more than anybody else, probably, for sure, I guess. Not probably, for sure. But at the same time, I don't feel connected to her right now. She's not here. She's off with her boyfriend doing something. They're connecting right now. I'm not connecting with her right now. Am I actually connected to her? Well, I mean, obviously, if something horrible were to happen to her, I'd be devastated. I don't know how that would play out, but I do know that at the moment, I don't know where she is or what she's doing or anything. How can I be connected to her?
Here's one thing I want to add. I inevitably strive for a deep connection with people. I want a deep connection with somebody, but when I get into those states, it's when my NETI has kind of faltered and I'm weaker, and I'm looking for some FE action. When I meet that deep connection with somebody, when I go back to my normal place in NETI, I fuck up any connections I've made while on my social periods. So I have this very defensive attitude towards deep connections with people, because every time I've ever made one, I've fucked it up. So as a defense mechanism, I've learned to battle against it.
I mean, Trenton, the thing is, we but afford object permanence to people's emotions about us. Okay, I left you today. You were happy with me. I was happy with you as far as I can tell. I'm going to assume
what you're about to say is so true.
that when I again contact you in 3 weeks, that you'll be unchanged as I left you.
Oh my god, I'm so sick. That is so. I've literally every time I have not been able to leave like that. When I was with like a long time ago, when I had actually had a healthy relationship with ISFJ, I could not end the conversation. I could not leave her presence until I knew she wasn't mad at me, and then I could fucking leave. And I just felt like, hey, it's been 2 weeks. You're still happy. You still want to talk, right?
Wait. What do you mean you're mad? Are you telling me sometime between when I said my last word and walked out the door, you went from happy to mad again? That's the only way it could possibly be that you're mad now. Right, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We don't want those relationships to take maintenance. We don't like maintenance stuff. Just stay put. Just stay fixed.
That's what I think.
Big problem with ESFJ, right? She wants to not stay fixed. Whatever her problem is. Okay, tell me what the problem is here. Let's figure out a solution. Here's my solution. Okay, let's implement it. Fine. What, now you got some other new problem? What, do you constantly break down? You know?
I have a problem trying to figure out the perfect, match for ENTPs. It's almost like there's nothing. Because one, let's say you get with an ESFJ or an ISFJ, right? If they're really good at tending to your weak functions, it's great. It's wonderful. You're being taken care of. But in your natural state, when you're inning and teeing all over the fucking place, right? That is not good for your significant other. They do not like that. It's conflicted with their dominant functions, whatever. So let's say, all right, well, what if you got somebody with the same dominant functions as you? Then all the weak functions are being fucked over.
I think you gotta.
What is the problem?
You gotta be established. That's the thing. For the ENTP and the ISFJ relationship to work out, the ENTP has to be established. The ISFJ is not that trusting of their own intuition at all because it's in the 4th slot. So they're looking for external symbols that they're looking to externally verify that you're right. And if they can verify that, like you marry them and you're already successful and have already proved yourself in whatever thing, then I suspect that relationship would be good. They'd be less likely to question you. And at the end of the day, if they trust that you're going to provide for them and take care of them in the manner they want to be taken care of, then they'll definitely take care of you. And they probably won't give you a whole lot of pushback about shit because you're not trying to figure anything out, quote unquote, in terms of how to make your NETI work for you and your family. The difficulty comes if she's trying to help you figure that out, then you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know whether to help you figure it out or not, except by referencing external things, which is never going to be satisfying for you because you know internally what you think is true. You know?
Yeah. Another thing I want to add. Yes, I am still, like, when I talk about these things, I can put myself in a place, I can talk about things and not have any emotional connection or anything to them. I'm with the INFJ now, and she has stowed away and she has secured an FB and TI now. Now, what that means to me is that it's a lot less stressful, right? When I start thinking of all the possibilities to FB, right? I could talk to this person, and I never realized how it was a burden. I didn't actually want to think about those things. So now, when I go to think about those things, it's just like T.I.'s like, hey, you fuck, you already made a promise, you can't do that, it's impossible. And like, thank God I don't have to work through all that shit. It's a relieving thing.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about these things because it was, it's just I'm in that place of none of my other impressions are to be found right now except any, so I'm capable of being anywhere, anytime, and discussing anything from any perspective. So I'm not what I'm saying does not actually represent what I'm feeling.
Right.
So there's the disclaimer.
And this is something that it's good. It's not such a bad FE dance to get in the habit of saying, which is, in this conversation, we should almost begin every conversation like this. You know, in this conversation, I'm going to be making various advocacies, and remember, we're just playing. Look at these ideas I found. Okay, we're not doing anything other than that. That's the main game here. We're playing. Look at these ideas I found.
I engage in polygamy. I'm incest, and I'm gay, and I'm transsexual.
Right. Well, like most of us here. Say again?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Have you considered the INTJ female?
INTJ
Because an
female?
INTJ, yeah, they will give you a list of things that they want done.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
I've
they
never
will.
met one. I don't think I ever
I
met
have
one.
an INTJ. She has a list of things that she wants her husband. She doesn't have one yet, but that she wants her husband to do when they get married. And they're gonna be happy because they will do these and these and these things, and that will be that.
Yeah, that would be
They're
convenient.
very direct.
Right. I don't think they're very nurturing. I think NTPs want someone to kiss our boo-boos sometimes. And I think that's the part that, at the end of the day, when we're emotionally involved in a relationship, it's somewhat on that level. We're seeking comfort because we live a bruising life. It's not easy to be Trenton out in the world rolling hard on any and running at people and being like man of ideas in Waynesburg, Ohio. You want to read a description of us from a long time ago, Trenton? Read Man of Ideas by Sherwood Anderson from book Waynesburg, Ohio, or check out the video in which I read it out loud. Would be another way to listen to that. It's a short story, and it's all about a guy who's a man of ideas, and he runs up to and the theme of the story basically is people roll their eyes at this guy and kind of like shy away when he walks in the room because he walks right in and goes, you know what? Have you seen this? Blah, 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 like that kind of shit, right? But then, but basically in the story, he ends up sort of sweeping everybody up in his enthusiasms. He sort of is oblivious to the objections that people are raising, and he just says, "Yeah, but let's do this anyway." And then he becomes the manager of the baseball team and has them performing remarkably well. And so everybody in the town is kind of like, "Huh, what's up with this guy?" And then he starts dating this chick who's like the daughter of a dangerous man who's like a bad character who everyone's scared of, kind of. And he has the same impact on him. Everyone's worried that he's going to be like, the dad's going to be violent or something. But the man of ideas come in and he's got an arms full of a bunch of grass that he's picked outside. And he says, look, now I've got this idea. If somehow all the existing produce of mankind were to disappear from the face of the earth, what will we do? Well, will we starve? No, we have ingenuity. We use these grasses here. And then he goes into this long explication about how he's going to use these grasses to solve humans' starvation problem after all the existing produce disappears for some reason. Now, and in the process of this, and then he keeps talking. He says, come walk with me as we continue this discussion. And he leads them outside to continue talking with them. And they just sort of follow him down the path. And that's how it ends, you know. He ends up with the chick and no problems happen. Everyone in the town admires his baseball coaching, and everyone scratches their head. Nobody can really figure him out. And no, he doesn't really have any, as far as I can tell in the story, any particularly deep relationships with people. And he sees Sarah King as a good match for him because she listens to his ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as we'd like to say, in our most comfortable state, it is so, our dominant functions are so conflictive against the idea of a relationship and things like that. It's difficult for us to engage in one. But as soon as our dominant functions falter, as soon as we get any kind of weak state, we will be clamoring for another person to care for us emotionally, physically, every fucking way you can imagine.
I guess it's kind of difficult for me to imagine because it's completely a blindside for me, and I don't even really think about it on an average basis.
Think about what specifically?
Relationships in general, to be honest with you, like it's just not in like, you know, you guys are like, oh, you know, I'm very aggressive against it until like I get tired, and I'm like, I don't even ever get aggressive towards it because I don't really think about it. Like it's not really in my viewpoint. Like you know.
Well, it's not an INTP priority. I tell you that.
It's not.
At the end of the day,
I'm
they just
trying
don't give a
hard.
fuck. You know, they just don't really. They can take it or leave it. There's no like.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
You know, there's no. But we're meant to be, Kimball. Let's be together. We're in love with each other. Well, but there's practical concerns, Eric. I mean, they just don't give a fuck at the end of the day.
That's true. That's true. INTPs scare the hell out of me. They do. They scare me. They terrify me.
Why?
What?
Because, all right, here's an example. One, I was in high school, and I knew when I was a freshman, I knew no one liked me. No one. I was alone. All right, and I would go in these classes and I would argue religion, sexuality, every fucking period, and I'd be alone. I'd be a lone wolf. And one day, this INTP, this guy, he spoke up, and we never stopped talking throughout the entirety of high school. But I felt emotionally connected with him, and this is why I dropped the idea of having to be in a intimate romantic relationship, because he was everything I needed emotionally or anything like that, but except I was not physically attracted to him at all. But I was getting everything that every human gets from a marriage or anything, but without anything physical at all. It was all there. But the INTP, he could literally just disappear for weeks and not speak to me. And it would be amazing to me. What the hell? How can you do that? How do you not feel guilty? You just left for weeks. You left me alone. See, the bad thing is, when you have somebody like an INTP who will sit there and listen to your bullshit and reciprocate it or argue with you, you can become easily attached to that individual, especially when they're the only person like that. And then they're comfortable with just going Long John out of nowhere and disappearing for weeks. And so I'm left back again in classes, yelling and screaming vehemently and getting close to getting my ass beat by gargantuous rednecks.
Oh, so you felt hurt, and that's why you're afraid of him.
Yep.
Yeah, I got nothing. I kind of do that too. I mean, it's not intentional.
need some time
It's
alone.
just kind of. It's really not intentional, and I don't even know I'm doing it until somebody lets me know that I'm being a douchebag. So
Here's part of being an ENTP and getting our feelings hurt. The bad part is, look, when he would disappear, I would be, instead of just saying, wow, you hurt my feelings, you stopped talking to me for 2 weeks, the first thing I would do is find objective reasons to validate my anger. So instead of just saying I'm upset. And I never, to this day, I haven't been able to. I've never just been like, hey, Tyler, what the hell? You disappeared on me. I still just go, you know what? You signed this contract on the date of July 14th, or, you know what I'm saying, something objective to make my whatever kind of emotional reaction I had, instead of just saying, it's just, I don't know. It makes it difficult to validate my emotions in that fashion.
I wouldn't take it personally. We don't mean
Well, it's kind of inevitable. I take it personally, as much as I would like to say I wouldn't. I do take it personally sometimes. But, I don't know. And I went through a lot of objective self-criticism on that basis, trying to tell myself, no way does it hit my fucking guts or anything like that. But then, I don't know. We definitely couldn't be, when we was together too long, I would get exhausted, because all, like, fucking FE and SI were just, that's a bad thing about being really close with somebody who matches your dominant functions, is that your weak ones are just gone. They are gone. They disappear.
What do you mean by disappear?
I stopped tending to them completely. When I'm left a little bit more on my own, when I'm left to, let's say, be more contemplative instead of just focalizing any stuff and just focusing on TI, when I'm left to be on my own, I find myself flowing in and out of my other functions a little bit more healthily. But if I'm with an individual that matches my dominant functions completely, it's easy for me to just get lost in the moment and completely forget about the other functions and just basically, what's it called? Burn myself out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happens with INTPs too, talking to ENTPs, because it's like it has to be exhausting, really.
Not really.
It isn't? I would imagine it's like exhausting.
Well, I work in a location where like I'm surrounded by sensors and feelers. So like it's really stressful for me to exist. So when I come occasionally and I open up like Eric's channel on YouTube, and it's very relaxing, able to use my dominant functions.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
come here to recharge.
I bet. Oh man, I don't even know what I would do if I didn't have outlets like this. It would be very bad. I would say. It would be. See, the thing about the reason why any acts out like it does, like we argue and shit like that, is because we really have no one. That's the only way for any to actualize externally. And you should have like an ITB friend, IT or an ETB friend or something. It's easy for you to get that validation for any without having to fucking piss people off and argue with them. If I go up to an ITP friend and I'm like, hey, being incest isn't bad, they would be like, oh, I wonder why. And it would just turn into a discussion. And then whatever happens in that discussion is not going to, it is not going to force us to FE at all, and it's not going to exhaust me. That's cool. But if I do that with anybody else, I'll be forced into FE because I'll end up arguing and I'll have to be thinking about feelings, and being forced into feelings is exhausting. And then you become more, it just spiral out of fucking control. Okay,
I gotta be honest, I've never had like an ENTP friend, so.
I've never met an ENTP in real life. And to be honest with you, I feel like I would be. I feel like I would have like since I'm the only ENTP I've ever knew, I feel like I would have like a superiority complex or something. I'd have to like metacognitive kind of. I don't know. I've only met one INTP, and that's that guy I was talking about. He's been appearing offline for 14 days straight. So I don't know what the hell's going on with him.
Had an ENTP friend.
Oh?
Or I guess I do have an ENTP friend. But I didn't talk to him for a year.
You have me and Eric. What do you mean?
Before I met you, or before I started talking to you guys, when I was in school, he was a grade higher than me, but he was like, we were the same age, and he graduated, and he didn't talk to me for a year, and I was so upset. I was like, why haven't you talked to me? Like, what's going on here? Do you hate me or something? And then, like, in hindsight, I'm like, wow, you really overreacted, Nandi. Like, it's not that big a deal. And he, like, eventually, like, answered back. He was like, sorry I didn't talk to you. Like, a lot of stuff's been going on. I honestly didn't even think about talking to you. He was like, no, it's not that big a deal. Like, after talking with you guys and, like, hearing about all that stuff, I was like, oh, okay. I understand now what's going on. Like, he's not doing this on purpose.
I was talking about this today. I don't think I hate anyone. And if I feel like anybody I do hate, I feel like if they talk to me and we discuss why I quote unquote hate them, I would not hate them anymore. It's not I don't say to myself, I hate that person, and that's a valid option to take. Usually if I say I hate someone in my head, I'm usually arguing with myself. And if that person shows any signs that my intuition is wrong, then I'm fine taking that route, because I don't usually like agreeing with myself. So if I tell myself, you know what, Trent, you hate Nandi for some reason, usually people will be like, okay, it's fine, I got it, I'll avoid her. But my mind's like, no, you don't. Why do you hate her? So if you say, hey, Trent, you shouldn't hate me, I'll be like, thank God, I don't have to worry about that. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't think I, like, hate anyone. I don't think I hate anyone in, like, real life. Like, unless they've, like, no one has done anything to me intentionally or otherwise to, like, make me hate them. Like, I might, like, really dislike someone's personality or something, or just like the actions that they've made, but like hate is like something so like deeply personal. I feel like that I don't really
it's pure personal. Yeah, that's why I hate it so much. It is like the antithesis of how I think. It really is. It's saying I hate someone is saying I am entitled to my conclusion I've came to from my subjective experience. And if that's not the most opposite ENTP thing you ever heard.
I don't know, to me, saying like I hate someone is like the equivalent of saying like I want to kill them or something.
Right. INFJs have a tendency, they don't have a tendency to do that, but they have a tendency to they can consciously cut off, like if they do make that decision, like, I hate that person, then any kind of, like, moral values they would hold to normal people, they wouldn't even hold to the person that they hate, quote unquote.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that. I've heard about the whole, like, INFJ door slam thing. I'm like, have I experienced that? Is that something that I've done before? I don't think so. But I imagine I would. Like, sometimes... Yeah, I don't think... One of my friends, I didn't really see her as, like... She didn't meet all my expectations, so I kind of just, like... didn't talk to her that much anymore. But, like, we still talk every once in a while, so...
I have to call Erica out on that sometimes, because Erica will be like... We'll be sitting there, right? And she'll go... This person fucking hates me. She hasn't talked to me in, like, 3 days. And I'll be thinking... You established 3 relationships, and you consciously ignored all 3 of those people because you suddenly didn't like them anymore, and you think it's okay to say you dislike someone because they didn't talk to you for a few days. And I have the reminder of that, and she's like, it's different. She'll just start using the TI fallacy.
Who is it, your INFJ friend?
Yeah, my
or
girlfriend. Yeah. And that's the worst. Those are the worst arguments, or when INFJs start using the TI fallacy logic.
They try and, like, yeah.
That it does not...
Try and, like, logic away their feelings, basically, which never works, so...
Yeah, because I pick up on it when she's doing it, and I'll argue, and then it makes me, I'm just like, I know what you're doing, and that's usually, it's not good. It makes me look like an asshole.
I'm not sure I could date an ENTP.
I'm not, yeah. Well, I was...
Like, I feel like it could go well for a little bit. Like, it would be fun, but I'd rather just keep them as my friends.
That's how I kind of feel about the INFJ thing, but we've figured out that we are both perfectly capable of being in that kind of relationship.
Yeah. I mean, not saying that it can't work out, of course, but that's how it feels.
I would imagine it would be difficult to be in a relationship with an ENTP in general, and... I think it would get...
I wouldn't want to.
I would need someone who's, like, more emotionally connected with themselves.
Well, I think that the problem...
I don't know, like...
See, INFJs love ENTPs because they can do that for us. They can do all the emotional picking out and understanding themselves, and they enjoy doing that. We don't.
It requires a person who's...
True.
Who's open to... I mean, it's a tricky job to fill, right? Significant other to a... I just say female significant other to a male heterosexual ENTP, just to make it easy and narrow. JC's gonna meet an ENTP who she likes, huh? Well, okay.
Here's the thing, ENTPs are not sociopaths or anything. This is what I'm saying about that. Let's say me and Nandi have the same capacity for empathy, right? Or empathy or being nice or whatever. But it depends on depending on your functional stack, is how the emotions or whatever manifest. And when you're an ENTP and you try to spend any kind of... It's easier for an INFJ to experience emotions through NIFE because you can kind of order them according to subjective values, and then FE is really easy on emotions because you can make them externally verifiable and you get that validation. But if you're an ENTP, you'll feel an emotion, and it's just the opposite of the way you've come to understand the world, and it's just chaos.
Well,
But you have the same capacity, but it's a lot more destructive than an ENTP because it's
I
not,
think it's like
not consistent.
Sorry. I think it's the whole like empathy, sympathy things. Like, I think both ENTPs and INFJs, I guess, can like experience the whole empathy thing, which is like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. But there's also sympathy, which is like the whole like acting on that and showing people that you're putting yourself in their shoes, treating them how you think they might want to be treated in that situation. I don't think ENTPs can always do that.
It requires us to go into. It requires us to say. It requires, like, let's say if a thought goes through a trickle down through. It goes through NI. I mean through NE, and then it goes to TI, and then it gets to FE. It's going to take longer for something for us to become aware of it through our feelings and act on it than would an INFJ. An INFJ just has one function to go through, and then they're FE, and then they just act on it. But we have to go through NE, and then if it miraculously makes it through NE to TI, and then double miraculously makes it to FE, then we'll act on it.
It depends, though. It depends, because one thing that I've learned to do that's helpful is pregame, right? So you go into something and you think to yourself, okay, I need to be aware of the following FE factors. Now I'd probably use those words, but earlier when I didn't really think in this model, I would still have that same thing. Okay, what do I need to make sure I shouldn't do? Who do I need to not piss off, and what things do I need to definitely avoid? If I do that kind of stuff ahead of time, I can be more attentive to it. JC, I would like to hear more from anybody on one of the following two questions. Maybe we should start, if we're down to do another one, let's start another one. On the question being, types you think you possibly could be in a relationship with, types you think you definitely could not be in a relationship with.